What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, it's Wednesday night. I'm going to switch it up. We usually do a live stream best ball show, but tonight I'm gonna do my first Yahoo Fantasy Football mock draft. We're going to be drafting from the 105 in a 12-team league. It's just your standard Yahoo league, so half PPR. You start two receivers, two running backs, and a flex, and a kicker and a defense. So we got the draft starting in about a minute here. I'm going to hop into a screen share here. Let me get my stuff pulled up, and we'll just have some fun along the way. And hey, if you guys are new to the channel, definitely like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know if you guys want more Yahoo mock draft content in the future. I mean, as I record this, it's July 17th, so we're training camp starts next week. We got all of August and the last couple of weeks here of July to keep putting out content for you guys. But I do have a handful of ESPN mock drafts up on the site. I'll probably put a link to the mock draft playlist in the comments, so if you guys want to check those out. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions, I'll probably do a sleeper mock draft pretty soon here. I'll probably do a super flex mock draft. Just kind of keep pumping out mock drafts for the next 5 or 6 weeks before Labor Day weekend, and we'll get ourselves ready for the 2024 fantasy football season. But hey, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for this video. I picked 105. Again, this is my first time firing up the Yahoo ADP and everything like that, so we'll see what we kind of do. I'll reference my projections throughout the video. I did filter mine by half PPR, so I'll kind of make my decisions based on that. But I'm just excited to kind of get some new content out there. Yahoo Fantasy Football. I have one league on Yahoo, but otherwise most of my stuff is full PPR. But hey, if you play half PPR, this will be a good video for you to check out. So we'll kind of just keep the results up here. CMC, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, first 3 players off the board. I think in a half PPR, I'm more inclined to take one of the top 3 stud running backs and look for a wide receiver round 2. Tyreek Hill does go round, pick 4. And I'm on the clock right now. It's telling me Breece Hall, Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson. And if that's the case, I think in a half PPR format, I think having a top 7, 8 pick is where you want. I like all of these guys in a half PPR setting. Just a quick look at my numbers here. I got Bijan at the 3rd ranked player here, and I have Breece Hall as the 4th ranked player. So I'm going to take Bijan Robinson here with my first pick. I think he's set for a really nice season. I like what the Falcons did, bringing in Kirk Cousins. They also brought in a competent, he's still a rookie, but he's going to be probably an upgrade over what's been quarterbacking them for the last couple of years. So we lock in our stud running back. And now that I have that position secure, most of my drafts, I'm looking for one stud running back that I can just kind of set in there and forget it all year. And then I'm going to try and find a group of guys that I think can carry the load at RB. But we're looking like, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, in that 5, 6, 7 range here. I think Jamar Chase is a hell of a pick too at number 7 here. So I like these guys a lot. I have Tyreek as my 5th best player, Jamar as my 6th. I think they reached a little bit on Amon-Ra here. I think he's more of a full PPR player for me. But if I just go to draft board here, maybe that's the better look. But we'll keep this up as we're waiting for our pick to come back around here. But you see Justin Jefferson, pick 108. I think that is kind of the right spot for him. I'm taking Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase over him. I like A.J. Brown quite a bit in the half PPR league as well. And then Jonathan Taylor, the 4th running back off the board. I think he's an exciting pick in a half PPR format. He's looking like a really good player that's going to run for a lot of yards and touchdowns. Not so much of a receiving threat with Anthony Richardson quarterbacking, but I think JT's looking like a really solid half PPR player. And then, Jahmyr Gibbs, Garrett Wilson round out the end of round 1. And then there's probably going to be a lot of running backs flying off the board here round 2. It starts with Saquon Barkley, Kieran Williams. I do think Puka's probably a value there at 2.3. Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams. And I'll wait one more pick here before I filter back to the players that I'm looking at. I do have some pretty big value. My half PPR format really likes Isaiah Pacheco. I got James Cook pretty high up there, Mike Evans, ETN. I don't know if I want to grab another running back, though. I kind of want to grab one of my stud receivers here. So we'll see who comes back to me. Right now we're just waiting this clock pick out. Marvin Harrison, Josh Jacobs both go. So what do we got? I think Olave, Ayuk. I'm probably not going to take Drake London just because I do have Bijan already here. So I think Olave is a pretty solid pick here. Don't get me I love Deebo Samuel. I hope he can kind of come back to me. I think in a half PPR, that's where he really shines with his carries and whatnot. But I'm just going to take what the board gives me here and grab one of the most consistent and solid all-around receivers that I think you can have. He Olave, he looks best as a wide receiver 2 on your team here. But again, we started with Bijan. I'm fine just collecting Olave and saying, yeah, he's going to be one of my top 2 receivers for the season. And we'll see what comes back. I'm open. I would love Pacheco here, but if I didn't go Bijan, I probably would have taken Pacheco there. I think PPR format, though, you can get McCaffrey, Bijan, Brees. And then, yeah, I'm open to Jonathan Taylor. I don't know if I want Jahmyr Gibbs in a half PPR. He's going to score a lot of touchdowns, though, so I think that's a good way to look at it. And then, yeah, I think Saquon, Kieran, Henry, a little bit early for Josh Jacobs there. I'd rather have Pacheco. I'd honestly probably rather have Pacheco over a lot of the guys there that went in round 2. So he's one of my favorites, and it looks like the team at the 101 grabbed CMC with Pacheco and then Josh Allen there. So I want to stress making sure you guys have enough receivers. I know running backs are a little bit more powerful in half PPR, but just make sure you've got at least one receiver through the first 2 rounds. I think you'll be happy with how that works. And you can try 2. There's a couple teams trying 2, JJ, Devontae, and then one team with 3 receivers off the bat. And then I'm curious. Most of my leagues, I'm starting 4 receivers. I can start 2 receivers and 2 flexes in my most popular league. So I'm just curious if you guys have the same kind of thing there going on. But I'm back on the clock here. Ayuk, Debo, Achane. I like Nico Collins quite a bit as well. Those are probably the only guys that I'm looking at here. I think, again, we have running back covered. I don't know if I want to grab another one here. So this is purely a receiver pick for me. I'm going to go ahead and grab Debo Samuel, who I think when he's healthy, he's still one of the best players in fantasy football. Last year, he had a really nice year. 225 carries or 225 rush yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, and then he still pitched in 900 yards and 7 touchdowns. So I'm looking at, 11 to 1,200 yards and 10 to 12 touchdowns with Debo. I think that sounds pretty good to me. And because of that rushing volume and the floor that he has there, he's got a little bit safer floor than a lot of the receivers that go there. But I still like Ayuk. I still like Cooper Kupp. I like Achane. And then I think Nico Collins is probably a pretty good pick here in the 3rd round. I'm not a big DJ Moore guy this year. I think I'd rather have DK Metcalf. I'm a little concerned of the distribution in Chicago. I know DJ Moore is still an alpha receiver, but just bringing in Keenan Allen and drafting Rome Odunze, pairing him with a rookie quarterback. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen a top 10-ish receiver with a rookie quarterback. I think someone could do it, but I don't know. I think I'd rather take shots on Nico, DK. Those guys I think are a little bit better picks than DJ Moore. But we're starting to see a couple quarterbacks come off the board here. We already had Josh Allen at 3.1. You see Jalen Hurts here stacked with A.J. Brown at the 1.9 spot, which I like a lot. And then 3 tight ends off the board so far. I do think having a top 5, 6 tight end this year is going to be a big advantage. So I want to look for those guys. I do have my 2 receivers and a running back here. And as I'm looking around here, I could grab a quarterback if I want. Amari Cooper. I like Devonta Smith a lot as a flex. I think that's a really nice pick. And then some of these running backs here starting to look pretty good. But I'm going to grab Devonta Smith, who I think is just a really, really good player. And I have Devonta Smith kind of farther down in my rankings here. Where is Mr. Smith? Did I miss him? I mean, he's my 36th ranked player in a half PPR projection. So I'm getting a value there around 4. I feel pretty good about that. He should have been a late 3rd round pick. I'm feeling pretty good about this. We have our 2 starting receivers in Olave and Debo. I'm locked in with my RB1 and Bijan, and then my flex is Devonta Smith. So I feel really good about I'm leaving those guys in my lineup. I don't have any decisions to make anytime soon. And now that we have the meat, I would say, of our team set, we can start to look at RB2. We can look for a tight end 1. I mentioned wanting a top 5, 6 tight end. I just think when I have Bijan, I'm probably not going to draft Kyle Pitts. I'm more so looking at those guys like Dalton Kincaid. Mark Andrews was a good pick right there. And then I did like the Trey McBride pick. I kind of wanted Mark Andrews to come back to me. We'll see if the Kincaid does come back around, because I think he's probably the Bills' leading receiver this year. So he's probably a pretty good pick. If I didn't get one of those top 5 guys or Pitts, I'm probably willing to wait a little bit, to like Jake Ferguson, David Njoku. You can be patient and wait for those kind of players to cover your tight end needs. But we're looking good here. We have a well-balanced approach. I'm going to open up the board here and see what's looking here. We just missed on C.J. Stroud. I'm not looking for quarterback yet, although I think Anthony Richardson presents a really nice value here. I could lock in James Cook, though, at running back. I think he should have been gone by now. 2 more picks until we pick, so we'll see what happens. But I'm liking this board right now. And again, I mentioned I kind of want a tight end early. So if I want to pull a Buffalo player here, that's probably where we're going to go, whether it's Cooked or James Cook goes right there. Hopefully, we're going to get Kincaid here is probably the move. But that's a really good value there. James Cook was a top 10 running back last year, and I expect him to continue to play well in 2024. All right, there goes Anthony Richardson. So we're on the board here. They actually don't have Dalton Kincaid ranked very high, which is weird to me. So I could gamble and try and get him later, but I'm going to make sure I get Dalton Kincaid. I think in most drafts that I go, he's usually right after Mark Andrews or Trey McBride. So I lock in my starting tight end. We have a couple holes left in our starting lineup with quarterback and running back. But the more that I do these drafts, these mock drafts, I think this is the year to wait on quarterback. I really do. You can get 2 really nice quarterbacks later in the draft, whether you do, say you do Brock Purdy and Jared Goff. You can do Tua and Trevor Lawrence. You can do Jordan Love and Joe Burrow. Like these quarterbacks are priced really, really cheaply here. So I won't look for a quarterback quite yet, although I think we're probably getting pretty close to the point where I like the value there. After I took Kincaid, you see T. Higgins, David Montgomery goes really high in a half PPR league, Zay Flowers, Aaron Jones. I like Terry McLaurin. I love George Pickens. I think he's the thumbnail player on the video today. And there goes Joe Burrow. So far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks off the board. I think I'm okay with being, the guy that just has 2 quarterbacks at the end that feel pretty good. I love Kyler Murray here. I was hoping he came back to me. I'm trying to get part of that Arizona offense. I think they're going to be sneaky good this year. But we're on coast right now. I'll probably take a look at running back here with my next pick. Otherwise, I'm kind of well balanced here. I have 3 receivers, a starting tight end, and a stud running back. So we're in good shape. Let me just open up the tab here. I think James Conner is a fine pick this year. Not drafting Raheem Mostert, Keenan Allen, I'm not so excited about. Hollywood Brown is fine. I actually see a lot of value here in Dak Prescott. I don't have a Cowboy on my team, but I think Dak Prescott's a top 5 quarterback. So he presents a ton of value here. I kind of mentioned wanting to wait for QB. These teams ahead of me, though, they all have a quarterback. So I don't think they're going to take Dak. So I'm gonna do a little gamble here. And what we're gonna do, and man, it would have been nice to get James Conner there. But I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna grab Jaden Reed to be my flex player off the bench. And who knows, he could be starting for me a handful of games. I think Jaden Reed had a fantastic rookie year, and a lot of people are going to be excited to draft him this year. So we'll grab him as our first man up off the bench. The running backs didn't quite excite me yet. I think we can maybe get someone to fall to us. And like I said, I like to play. It's a numbers game for me, because whoever you draft to be your running back 2 is probably not going to be your running back 2 by week 6, 7, 8. And then, of course, by week 15, 16, 17, we're starting guys like Zamir White and Ezekiel Elliott. So I don't like to invest a ton into my RB2. I want to find a group that I can work with for the first month or 2, play through the waiver wire, and continue to build my RB2 up. Because, injuries happen. Younger players excel. That came out of nowhere. That's how you find guys like Kieran Williams. I mentioned Zamir White. There's a lot of running backs that kind of come out of the woodwork. And we gambled correctly here. So I missed on Najee. I would have been fine with Najee in a half PPR league, but I don't like any of these running backs. I do like Deontay. I do like Chris Godwin. But as I'm up to pick here, man, I think I can wait on my RB2 here because there's going to be guys that I like later. So I'm going to grab my share of the Dallas Cowboys offense. I'm going to grab Dak Prescott. And all of a sudden, our starting lineup is pretty much set. And we can just kind of keep plugging away at RB2 here. But we have a top 5 threat at quarterback. Olave, Debo, and Devonta Smith. I don't know if any of those guys have top 5 upside without something crazy happen. But I think all of them have top 10, top 12 upside. So there's a chance we have 3 top 12 wide receiver ones. And then Kincaid, I do think, there's a chance where he could be the tight end 1 on the year. So I think it's very important this year to make sure you have a chance at a top 5 player at each position. And Dak Prescott last year, guys, he was QB3 in most scoring systems. He threw for 4,500 yards and 36 touchdowns, and he also, like, they downgraded their running back situation. So I think they're going to continue to lean on the pass quite a bit. I do think Kyle Pitts was a good value here. If I didn't have Kincaid, I could have pulled Kyle Pitts in this round. I think Evan Ingram and Jake Ferguson are also nice consolations, and then it probably ends after Njoku. I think as far as the clear top 10 tight ends, you can make a case for guys like Pat Freiermuth or some of the other ones back there. But I want to have a top 5 threat at the tight end position this year. And we're moving into the 8th round now. And again, I mentioned I'm going to be pivoting towards running back. And what I like here, not a lot of running backs coming off the board. So they're getting pushed back to me. Everyone's grabbing quarterbacks and tight ends and wide receivers. We're at that auto part, the auto draft part of the draft now where defenses are coming off the board. So I don't know how valuable this mock draft is going to be in a week or two, just because, training camp happens preseason and whatnot. So we did our best, though. We have a really solid first 7 picks. And at this point, I'm just going to be, shooting RB2s. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bench spots to fill, plus a starting running back spot here. So we'll start to take a peek here. I think Zach Moss could be a stud for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Brian Robinson's going to get a lot of volume there in Washington. And there's a lot of running backs that I like on the board, honestly. But I'm going to grab Zach Moss, who I think he looked really good last year in relief of Jonathan Taylor. And we've always kind of been drafting Joe Mixon, starting Bengals running back the last 4 or 5 years. We've been drafting him at the 3rd, 4th round. And to get Zach Moss here, I know a lot of people don't really know him very well. They don't really trust him very much. But again, we kind of went empty RB2. I'll take a shot on Zach Moss. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll continue to fire away at the running back spot here. I like my receivers a lot. I could take a rookie like Rome Odunze. I could take Rashee Rice and put him in my bullpen. But I think I'm going to wait on receiver. There's a lot of receivers that I like later in the drafts. But Rashee, Tua, Benson, there's a lot of upside receivers here that actually maybe we do that. Although I think Tajay Spears is a really fun player. Maybe not the half PPR guy that I'm looking for here. But man, Rashee Rice is a good pick. I'm going to take Tajay Spears. Just because, we're trying to wide net the RB2 spot. He's a player that looked really good in limited duty behind Derrick Henry last year. And I know Tony Pollard didn't look great last year. He did look better down the stretch. But if anything happens to Tony Pollard, I think Tajay Spears is going to be a must start for everybody. And I think in more so in full PPR league, that's probably the better format for a Tajay Spears. But I'll take a chance. And if worst case scenario hits, I can always whip out Tajay Spears here. We're starting to get into those a lot of red here on the board, a lot of running backs. He's starting to see some kickers and some defenses come off the board. So the draft is probably cooked, but I'm proud of the foundation we built. I think I gave you guys a pretty solid first 7, 8 picks with our foundation, leaning into a running back 1 and kind of just filling the other positions. And then we're going to come back and widen at this RB2 spot. I really like the Brian Thomas, Rashee Rice value here that he got. We'll look at our next available players here. I'm not a big fan of Courtland Sutton. I think Gus Edwards is kind of sneaky. I think Jonathan Brooks at this point, though, that's probably the pick. I don't expect him to start the season as the starter, but I expect him to get better as the season goes on. And, I think it's pretty important that the Panthers took him early in the 2nd round ahead of what everyone thought, coming off an ACL injury. So they really wanted him. They still have Chuba Hubbard there who might be involved a little bit more than we think early in the season. But I think, I have Bijan and Zach Moss to start the year. If Moss don't work, I can try Tajay Spears. And if those two don't work, I can try Jonathan Brooks by mid-season. So I'm kind of layering myself and trying to create a roadmap to get to the fantasy football championship. And we're probably not done at running back. I got 3 bench spots left. I don't think I need a backup QB. I think Prescott's fine there. Jaden Daniels is a pretty good quarterback, though, if you wanted to grab someone on your bench. But we'll kind of take it easy with just the 1 QB, I think, in this format. Now, guys like Xavier Worthy, Jackson Smith in the Jigba, Chase Brown's interesting, but more in a half PPR setting. Ladd McConkey, I think you want to put a rookie receiver on your team this year, whether it's Brian Thomas, Worthy, McConkey. Obviously, Marvin Harrison and Neighbors are costly, but Rome Odunze also a pretty nice price. We'll take some shots here on some of these guys shortly. 4 picks until we pick, though. Edwards, Lockett, Algier, and Cleveland defense off the board. So I'm not a big guy that wants to reach on defenses in my draft. I do think you want a couple good ones, so I like to roster 2 defenses usually, but I'm going to probably look at that schedule in a little bit, and we'll figure out what's the best defense to start the year and roll with the defense for the first 2-3 games. And then I probably try to always roster 2 defenses just so I can, 1, block someone from playing a good defense and also play my matchups as I see fit. But we just missed out on Worthy, JSN. We're on deck right now. Ladd McConkey, Curtis Samuel, those are the picks at receiver for me, and then we could probably be done. Like, we have 5 really good ones. I think McConkey is an exciting upside rookie that could he should lead his team in receptions and targets. So I'm going to fall on Ladd McConkey here, and then we have 2 bench spots left to fill with our running backs. So we'll have fun filling those up there. I do think Jerome Ford is also a really good pick at that point. I probably would have thought about him if he was available. And Ford's one of those guys that actually pairs really well with a guy like Jonathan Brooks, because I could start Jerome Ford in the beginning of the year, and when, if Nick Chubb does come back or if there's other things going on with Ford, we can mix in Brooks as the season gets older. So 1, 2, 3, 4 picks left. I think we're kind of on coast, man. I feel pretty solid about this team. We got some fun, exciting rookies here in Brooks, McConkey. We got some some really nice second-year breakout players with Spears, Jaden Reed, Dalton Kincaid. Like, that's pretty nice. And then I think our starting lineup is actually pretty strong. So 2 more bench spots to fill. Probably running back. I don't know if I want to go receiver. I can grab some handcuffs here. Guys that I want to wait on for the whole season. If I look at receivers real quick, take a shot on some of the Bills guys. Receivers kind of done for me, though. I think I feel pretty good about our group of 5. I could grab a guy like Romeo Dobbs. Go back to all players here. Ty Chandler's interesting. He's going to get starting time at some point when Aaron Jones misses some time. I wouldn't mind looking at defenses real quick, though. Miami and Kansas City, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to grab Kansas City defense just because they're going, and I think that's a team that I trust. I can start them pretty much every week of the year, and I'm going to feel okay about what they put out there for me. And because otherwise, these guys are all – this is starting to feel like waiver wire type players on the flex. But we'll grab some handcuffs to finish this video. I do like Chuba Hubbard. I already got Jay Brooks. I could just grab Chuba Hubbard and play that out. I think Marshawn Lloyd, Kendre Miller, Rico Dowdle, even Kamani Vidal, these guys are exciting rookies that Dowdle's not a rookie, but they're exciting first and second year players that could emerge as the season goes on. So I'm just kind of looking for my lottery tickets here. And keep in mind, these are probably the first few guys that you're cutting on your team anyway. So don't be afraid to break some eggs with these picks. I'm going to go ahead and grab Marshawn Lloyd, who I think, Packers drafted him to basically replace Aaron Jones and his explosiveness in that offense. So we'll see what happens there. I do like Josh Jacobs, but I think we're going to see Marshawn Lloyd mixed in and be the RB2 right away. And hey, if anything happens to Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, going to be very happy that I have him on my bench. I have 1 more bench pick left, and then we'll make our defense or our kicker pick round 15. Let me see if I can find out any more running backs that I like down here. I mentioned Chuba, Kendre, Rico. I think Vidal's interesting in the Chargers backfield. Jaleel McLaughlin had a nice hyped offseason. Chuba Hubbard, again, starting probably for the first handful of games here while Jonathan Brooks gets his legs underneath him. A lot of these guys are just kind of handcuffy down here. But overall, I'm feeling decent enough. My running backs are Bijan, and then I just need 1 running back to figure out. Moss, Spears, Brooks, Lloyd. We should be okay there. But let's look and see what we got going on down here deep in the draft. Some good receiver value this late. Keon Coleman's a good pick this late. Romeo, Dontavian Wicks, Khalil Shakir. Again, these are guys that you're probably not starting, but they're good assets on your bench in case something breaks right for them. I think it makes more sense for my team, though, to continue drafting running backs. We're pretty set at wide receiver. I feel really good about my top 5 receivers. So I'll if I need to, I'll find something on the waiver wire. I could take a backup tight end, although I don't think that's a good idea because he's going to be kind of clogging a roster spot for me all season. So we're going to make this one of the running back picks here. We'll grab one of these backup running backs and see how it pans out. We're starting to get kickers off the board. So the mock draft is officially cooked. And we'll talk about kickers in a second here. You don't need to spend high capital on a kicker here. But what I like about Chuba, again, if you needed a running back week 1, I think you could play Chuba Hubbard. I think Kendre Miller is going to be involved in the Saints offense more than we know, and he could be better than Alvin Kamara at running the football this year. I think Kamara is still the 3rd down passing back, but Kendre Miller could be a guy that eats into the workload there. And if anything happens to Alvin Kamara, I'm pretty sure Kendre Miller is the better player over Jamal Williams. So we'll grab Kendre, and boom, now our running back room is Bijan, Zach Moss, Tajay Spears, Jonathan Brooks, Marshawn Lloyd, and Kendre Miller. So, I talked about wanting to find guys that I can lock into my starting lineup to start the year, but also kind of give myself a path to having the right starters needed for week 15, 16, and 17, the fantasy football playoffs. Kicker, I'll take the Colts kicker. I think they're going to score a lot of points. They're in a dome. AFC South is kind of fun football, so we'll go with that. And there you go. That concludes our first Yahoo mock draft. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found some good nuggets within. Let me know in the comments, do you guys first of all, do you guys play the majority of your redraft leagues? ESPN, Yahoo, NFL, Sleeper, wherever. Let me know. And then if you guys do want more Yahoo mock drafts, let me know that as well. I like ESPN for a redraft format, and I just like the full PPR-ness of it. But overall, we're going to keep doing ton of mock drafts the rest of the summer, so keep an eye out for those. And boom, the draft is complete. I'll just kind of recap my team real quick on the far right. Quarterback 1 is Dak Prescott. I think he's a top 5 QB this year. My starting 2 receivers, Olave and Debo. My top 2 running backs are Bijan and Zach Moss. And my starting tight end is Dalton Kincaid and Devonta Smith at the flex, which I feel really good about. Off the bench, I have Jaden Reed, who could be starting for me. I have Tajay Spears, who could be pulled up at RB2. Jonathan Brooks could be pulled up at RB2. And then if I get anything out of Ladd McConkey, wide receiver 3 flex, whatever. And then we got some late sleepers here, Marshawn Lloyd and Kendre Miller, Chiefs D and Matt Gay as our kicker. So I think that went pretty well. What do you guys think in the comments? Let me know what you think. And thank you so much for hanging out with me in this video. Just hanging out, having fun. I hope you guys learn something and we can grow together and keep doing these mock drafts and having fun throughout the rest of the summer. So appreciate you. Thank you for your time. We'll see you guys in a future video. Peace.